Welcome to Actually Controller, the podcast that is actually Controller, and we are actually in control of everything you are hearing right now. I'm so very sorry.
The biggest difficulty, and I know he's faced it with me, is if I have something going creatively in my head, it will take over all of my facilities. You'll be in the middle of talking to me, and I'll be like, wait, you're going to have to repeat that? Because literally in my back of my head, I heard, John.
So the exact topic of conversation this afternoon was all of a sudden I said, you're going to have to write an outro. And his face changed, and I immediately went, Jeff, look at me. I already know what's going on in your head. Shut up. Listen to me. Finish the conversation that we're having right now. Then you can think about what you're thinking about right now.
It's been a contentious problem for me for a long time. But it's not ADHD.
What?
But it is just one of those, it's bad that I can hear your face. It's like, no, you shut that up. Shut it up and talk to me.
How do you know you've been
Yeah, so like, when you guys have seen the process for me, it just kind of continues to build. Even now, there's some songs that we've already, obviously all my drums are in the can, that we played live. I'm like, change this a little bit.
Or there's also been the, wait, did I do that?
Wait a minute.
I did do that. My bad.
Yeah. I will say I still love the end of Show Me the Way. That was probably one of my proud moments. But with Visions, it was listening to what you're doing. I'm like, how can I take what he's doing and variate it, but like drive it with him? Mm-hmm. But really, I know. I don't want to say that I get too many creative blocks. For me, percussion-wise, it's usually lyrically that I get stuck.
Like those verses when you come in with the snare, it's just like, I love that snare hit.
Did you end up downloading and listening to it yet?
I didn't download it.
Oh.
Well, I sent you the link.
It played right off my phone.
Oh.
So you don't have them? Okay. So he doesn't have the files anymore then?
I have the files.
Oh.
Either way, he at least listened to it recently, so he has some recollection of what he did.
Some of it, but I got to get back to the little extra stuff that I was doing.
That's okay. I already told him I need Putt to give me a copy of it without him on it because
I'm too loud.
He ends up creating a chord over the top of me numerous times. I'm like, wait, was that me?
It's beautiful.
Or was that?
I'm too loud.
Was that me? Beautiful. Or was that Jeff?
I just wanted to steer into.
I seriously can't wait for this to get out there because I'd love for this to be heard.
Right.
I feel very strongly that it's some of the best music we've written, so I'm like good with it. I like all our music though, so I'm kind of.
I don't like all of our music. I like most of our music. I'll be real.
I mean, I've got like a wide variety of likes and dislikes. I won't say that I love every song, but I like all of our songs.
No, I'll even go to the point where there's some songs I just do not like that. I had certain members in the band on different ones that were passionate about some component of it. And if there's a band member that's passionate about a component of the song, like we've talked about, it's my job, it's any of our jobs. If you got somebody who's that passionate about to try to still give your 100%, to see if you can help that idea come to life.
Yeah, because it's less about what we want.
Well, we even left the song on the table.
Yeah,
yep.
there is a song.
Plenty.
Yeah, but there was one that we got
here. We had almost completed. Yeah, it was forever known as Steve's song.
Yeah,
but I'm like, this is like grungy.
Yeah,
it's not that I didn't like him. Like, it just doesn't really.
I didn't.
It's out of left field for us.
I was actually one that I was like, I really don't like the feel of this.
But at the same time, it was one of those. That one wasn't an attachment.
But I also wrote a bass line to it. Yes. I'm like,
Well, and Patreon members, I think, have heard that one, haven't they?
I don't think that one's been released on the cutting room floor yet.
That is one of the cutting room floor songs. There is a version of it that was halfway kind of sort of recorded during one of our rehearsals.
I wrote bass part to it.
And there was a recording of attempt of drums to it.
Out here next year.
Yeah.
I said we'll just revisit Metal It Out next.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Mess with the BPM, throw in a couple 3-4 times.
That'll be our next EP. Looking at all the cutting on the floor.
Poly that right there.
Yeah,
just poly it. Figure it out.
Poly it.
In defense of that song, that was also like the second or third thing.
I love that.
In defense of that song, that was like the second or third thing that we started writing and working on when we were just trying to get the gears rolling for the writing process. So it was kind of one of those, just throw anything that you got out there, and if it starts sticking, we'll roll with it. If not, then oh well, type thing.
Yeah. So I don't. For me, I guess creative blocks really. I'll turn to other genres of music. I'll turn to other artists. And
I will say,
get out of the project for a minute before.
What I've witnessed from a block for you on drums personally isn't as much of a block as it is a rut. I would say that your comfortable genres, your go-tos and everything like that, you have had times where you've had to fight yourself to not fall into those genre's
definitely.
patterns.
So I don't want to bring any kind of grunge type feel to. I did have to for Show Me the Way.
Yeah, it's totally fine. It fits.
But in general, that's the drums.
I think I like the way you approach your creative process, because you'll like build the skeleton of this is absolutely where I want to live at, and then it becomes a matter of transitioning into and or what accents, what needs lifted here, what needs to be like, and you don't get like head focused on this absolutely needs to be the stylized beat, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, to Steve's point, like I'm finding that there are still some areas of what I wrote that's like, ooh, I did that in this song also. I need to variate what I'm doing. And when we play live, I'm like, I'm going to do it differently because I don't want these 3 songs in a row to sound like I'm playing the exact same drum rhythm.
Yeah.
So, right.
Yeah.
No, and I mean,
tend to do a lot of drag triplets.
I mean, that's fair.
Call that out. So I variate. That's how I put some variants on that one breakdown that I just went completely naked with it.
We tend to write a lot of pauses.
Yeah.
So
instead of just beefing it up, I was like, let's just keep this very
right
plain.
Well, and not that there, like I was going to say though, it's not that there's anything wrong with this is my genre, this is where I thrive at and everything like that. It's just one of those, I've seen you like in a rut feeling, like expressing a rut feeling. No, this is coming across as the wrong genre. This is the wrong vibe. This is not stylistically what I'm thinking it's supposed to end up being. So you'll like sit back and be like, I need a minute with this one.
Well, then you give me a sludge breakdown, and I'm like, what
am I supposed to do with that?
That was literally written in the studio, so I have no idea what it is.
Everybody will hear that one here on the next release.
It's fine. He'll learn it by the...
Yes. And how beautiful that ending turned out to be, too.
Oh, it's huge.
Backing drum machine for that. It's like, Chris doesn't know what he's playing. Just hit the pad.
He just hit a sample pad at that exact time.
Like,
he went ting, ting,
I liked it. I remember that I liked it, and even Austin was like, ooh, I like what you're doing here, but in the moment, and that was it. Gone.
Oh, no, you were like, okay, let's just do it, and we hit record, and you're like, nope, that wasn't the take, and just do it again.
It's one of those things
because it was here,
catching lightning in a bottle.
Because I wrote it right there.
Yeah.
And so trying to, like, with the metronome here, you're like, okay, red lights on, boy, let's get it.
Yep, catching lightning.
Yeah, I think we were on like take 4, and you're like, all right, let's just do it, and you nailed it, and you're like, I think that's it. And we're like, you want that? You're like, I don't know.
As a child of chaos.
That's another thing to address too, like creativity, but like when you get into that moment of the studio, the red lights on, like deer in the headlights for some people.
Sometimes,
not
man.
me. I tend to perform okay under pressure, but I have had other people that I've worked with that have gotten red light syndrome.
Well, I will say, like, with how we record now, it takes a lot of that feeling away. I mean, when I went in, people were expecting me to start with like a certain song out of the tracks that we were recording, and I ended up doing like that one last because I was like,
nope,
nope, that's not what we're starting with. I did have
a plan for some of them, like I need to get this one out of the way now
for stamina purposes.
Definitely had to get that out of the way real quick. And then the sludge song, I was like, I gotta wait on that. I gotta hear that a little bit before.
Let your muscles warm up a little bit before you're in that.
What song is it?
It's Undefeated.
Undefeated.
The sludge song.
Sludge.
And the funny thing is he's saying it's like sludge song, like we just dump the BPM, and it's like just chaos. It is like, literally the same BPM. We just like are playing in halftime.
It's just a halftime cut.
You did dump the BPM.
I mean,
just because you could still.
You're just playing half the notes. The BPM's the same.
The click going does not mean the BPM didn't drop.
Nope, you're just playing half the notes.
You literally cut it in half. You just said that.
Well, half of the notes is
so
cutting
it's half the BPM.
No, you're playing half the notes at the same BPM.
Yeah, because we don't change our BPM. The song changes. You change.
I don't recall that.
Now we're going to go into music theory.
Yeah.
Yep, semantics.
So
just because the toilet bowl is round, the water always moves at the same speed.
So Steve, what do you do with your blocks?
Chaos.
So with my blocks, I don't know. Like,
you're welcome.
My blocks have been different over the years. Like I had a really, really bad block after we were done with Ascending Degrees.
Yeah.
Like I was incapable of really offering anything worthwhile for almost 2 years. And it was one of those we were coming up on.
You see what happened? We watched Watch It Burn during a Steve block.
Yeah, well, and the funny thing about that was I'm going to throw this out there. I know that he had a lot going on in life, period, at that time. Everybody did. So
3 grandparents die in less than 2 months.
Exactly. So the difficulty was that all of us were literally unavailable to really chill and like put where exactly our direction was going. But we had a deadline we were trying to meet. Because we were working with a new producer at that time who wasn't really a producer. He was actually just recording us.
He was an engineer.
Yeah, he was doing exactly what we asked him to because we thought we had this. Everybody, though, had so much on their plate, like emotionally, life world events, things like that, that
it definitely was a lot of recovery.
Yeah, but we did still
for Steve
push to get the song done.
Those 2 years.
Yeah.
Well, and then, I still, yes, I wrote parts to go over the top of Watch It Burn. And I did have material there. However...
Such a fitting name for the
I wouldn't even say that I was recovered during or just directly post that one. I was still in writer's block during that entire album. I ended up technically writing during writer's block. And as weird as that is to say, that's exactly what that is. So if you're listening to that and things don't feel as like committed as other parts, it's because that truly is the case. And it wasn't until I would say almost late 2018, 2019 when I started to actually
have that spark.
Yeah, have the spark to start writing again. And then I almost lost my finger directly after I started getting the spark again.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, man.
But
that was scary.
Yeah, that honestly, I would say for the most part has kind of curbed a lot of different writing block potentials that I would potentially have nowadays, because it was one of those, do you want to admit that you can't, just shake it off, get it out there, write something, when you almost were put into a situation where you couldn't write anything anymore?
But Elements of Humanity turned out to be an amazing album.
It did.
I think there was actually enough turmoil happening out of Watch It Burn to kind of phoenix out of it. Honestly, this sounds really messed up, but being a child of chaos, thank you. I find that like those super upheavals in life, you have to like emotionally deal with it before you put any sort of like legacy over the top of it musically. You need to make sure that when you're putting down what you're putting down, that it speaks correctly of the time, and that it speaks correctly of the nature of the player, and I saw him going through this. I mean, like he said, it was 3 grandparents in 2 months' time. That's rough on anybody. Yeah,
and I had multiple other things. That wasn't the only thing. I had multiple other things going on, but I mean, that was one writer's block. But I mean, another writer's block that I genuinely had was even during the Ascending Degrees stuff, because we had come out of the first album. Everybody was so excited about the first album, the vibe that it had. Everybody everybody was starting to come out to shows. We had a really busy summer run of 2015 that was coming up and everything like that, because we were getting a lot of bookings and everything, but we hadn't even finished writing, let alone recording the upcoming album.
And we needed to get that done so that way we had something to push.
But we also knew that we were going to be wanting to jam-pack the CD, because we were looking at it going, we kind of felt like we phoned it in a little bit by, yes, it was a 10-track album for Undefined, but 3 of those tracks were technically visions that were split. One song split into 3 tracks. So it was like, yeah, it's 10-track, but we didn't really give people, for, like, in my opinion, best bang for the buck type thing.
Yeah. And
it was one of those, we gave you a long EP instead of a full-length album. Let's actually give them like a full-length album this go around.
Like the extended as well.
The extended, we went for broke. We went 19 tracks on one release.
Yeah, and that was a chore, but it was amazing.
At the same time, like, we've somewhat touched on it before, and like one of the songs that I just downright don't like, and there is a episode for Track Stories coming up about this one,
where he poo-poos on it.
Yeah, I poo-poo. I give detail. I give detail of the poo-pooing on it, though.
Yeah, he has desire. He has valid poo-poo for it,
and the writer's block was already starting during that, and it was I had nothing left. I had crap riffs that I was sitting on that I did not like.
Well,
and I didn't know what else to offer.
Which is sad, because I loved my bass line in the chorus of that song.
The piano section was great. I thought, actually, even though you weren't like emotionally
and I give credit to all of that in the Track Story episode.
Yeah.
So
and that, like, you weren't emotionally invested, I thought still where you went to.
How fun it was for me to play that song is like one of the reasons why I pushed it so much. It's like, I don't care about the content of the song. This is a fun bass line.
So he cares about his content.
Yes,
not
I care about my content.
Yeah, so
he's like, all I get to do is play my part. Why do I even,
I will say,
I only have to slightly listen to yours.
Yeah, I only have to halfway care about you.
This is the Chad. So we all like stand up there and we play what works with Chad's music.
Yeah,
dear God, I could not do that. I had a several year writer's block for Visions 3.
Yeah.
We had that until Chris. Over here.
He's like, I got this.
Rejuvenated.
Yeah. So I will say that for my current.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Just say it.
Okay. I will say for my current verges of writer's block, why they usually start to pop up is something that you brought up earlier. We've been doing this for a long time, and not only have we been doing this band for a long time, I've just been outright writing original material for a really long time. I've written so many songs in my life.
Time.
Where I actually bump into writer's block at nowadays more so than anything is I find myself kind of slipping into my ruts of this is one of those I can just grab on to easily things.
Yeah.
Like, I can write, and I'm not trying to be pretentious when I say this, I could sit in a week's period of time and write an entire no-brainer, radio rocked,
that's true,
ready to go album without even batting an eye at it.
I know do it. We just didn't release those ones.
Yeah, I mean,
there's also this.
Well, you and I have done it. You and I, in the course of 2 days, have sat down and wrote and recorded.
We could do something. The album would be radio controlled.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing: is
radio controller.
We between me and him, since we're in command of where melodies and chops a lot of the time end up. We have to make sure that we're not steering into any one camp of music too much. We got to make sure that the original that's actually there, the something that we're in love with, sticks out and is actually cared for instead of just copying.
Well, not only that, I'll give a little more context for myself.
It's part of the writing process to make sure that it's a process. You don't just regurgitate riffs and then put them together and say, I got a song.
Yep.
That might be the start of it, but then you build on those.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, though, I know enough of the tropes. I know enough of the fail-safes, the isms for that's catchy, that's easy to do. I know exactly what audience I'm going to grab with that. I know exactly how to actually manipulate the structuring to get to get the theory of a dead man effect, if you will, out of a song, and I don't have to put much thought into it and everything. The problem is that I do know that those components need to exist in my writing. Our songs need to be accessible.
They need to be catchy.
They need to be catchy. They need to be accessible. So it's not that that's a wrong thing to do, but it's if I only let it live in those principles, then I'm not, like he said, bringing the creative component of it. Right. I'm not bringing
how to write a hook,
the us component of it to it, and I'm like, okay, so
how to write a hook while still keeping
technically
true
a writer's
side.
block doesn't necessarily mean that you ain't writing anything.
No, is it worthwhile to actually be deemed a controller?
I can throw down whatever you want for this, but it's
the something I do have to say. The reason why I prefer, first off, I have funny arms. They're weird, and
they tell great jokes.
I have difficulty at times playing a lot of covers because they're made for people who don't have funny arms. At any rate, though, I feel like I can write better, with original music because it's honest. What it is. I'm not trying to pretend to be somebody else.
We had that conversation earlier today on the phone.
Yeah. I'm not trying to pretend to be somebody else. I'm actually trying to be myself, so I have to pick what it is that I'm putting out there.
As someone that lives in that world, I can tell you there are moments where you hear something and it's like, oh, that's simple, but when you actually try to do it, it's like, that's so far out of my style.
Yes,
that it's like I have to put so much concentration into it that.
Yeah, and not to knock where the simple is easy, because sometimes trying to write the catchy simple thing is one of the hardest things to do. And I've been in that boat on both sides of it going, no, we need to keep it simple, stupid. Come on, we're overwriting this thing. Yeah. Or the other end of it's been God, that just seems so dumb with how easy that is. Nobody's going to catch on to this. Nobody's going to like this. Why the hell are we spending the time on this? Let's add something to make this interesting, and we don't.
That right down. I add more kick work to it, and I think it lifts it.
It lifts it. There you go.
Yep.
And I just throw in some extra kick work.
Well, not only that, but even on Suffocate, that one hasn't come out yet, but the breakdown on Suffocate is about as easy as you can get. We went binary on that. There's nothing extra.
Yeah, I don't think
which off of its original iteration on Watch It Burn,
we overwrote it.
It was overwritten, and it sounded like busy garbage.
And then as soon as we were in there recording that with Putt, he goes, that breakdown's that's the right thing. And it's like, exactly. We recognized that we were idiots and got way too in the weeds on the original writing. It's like, no, it needs to do this, and then it needs to do this trick. And then next thing you know, you've written yourself into a corner, then you're trying to connect out of it, and then it just falls to crap, and you're too committed to it to admit defeat. Whereas in this time, it's like, no, we're rewriting it. Let's just type. It doesn't matter. So long as we got the melody and we got a good enough rhythm attached to it, that's all that needs to happen.
Right.
We don't need to showboat this. So
there are those moments though. I'm like, I want to make sure that it speaks correctly for what it is we're trying to get across. That's always been my focus. Is like, if I listen to this, am I going to want to listen to this again?
I will say one of the other brief writer's blocks that I had for the Find Yourself EP actually was on Discover. And the reason I had writer's block on Discover wasn't because I didn't know what I wanted to do. The writer's block was because I didn't know how to accomplish what I wanted to do.
Right.
Because there was certain components of some of the riffs that I didn't have the skill set really honed in for what I was trying to pull off. I'd done those tricks, but I had done those tricks in very sparse ways in the past. I had not combined multiple of those tricks into one thing.
Writer's block, though, because the writing is happening, just the performing is not.
Yeah. Well, and even though I still couldn't find...
I can write some hella drum stuff that I can't play.
But I wasn't...
Some blast beats? I got you.
But I mean, I wasn't even finding...
Don't got that.
But I mean, I wasn't even finding the right notes at first, because certain notes were hidden in certain...
Yeah, I still wouldn't call that a writer's block.
Okay.
Yeah. For me, writer's block is where you're
stuck. Yeah, you're stuck.
And you're just spinning your wheels, not because of lack of...
Trying.
What's the word? I don't want to say experience, but lack of... experience. Like you were reaching for something. You were reaching for something you've never really done before.
Yeah.
So you were learning,
right?
Almost like getting out a manual and say, all right, how do I do this? I know what I want to do. How do I do it?
Yeah.
Break out a YouTube tutorial, and then 2 weeks later, you're like, all right, I can do it now.
It's like those moments where you just had the words.
YouTube tutorial and be like, hey, can you write this for me?
Yeah. But I mean,
That's
like soon though, because Big Daddy AI is coming.
It's like
awesome.
when Jeff approached me with the Between Here and Now tracks. He's like,
where?
Between Here and Now.
Where?
Yeah.
Right here. And
but he hit me up. He's like, hey, I got this track I want you to do a bass line for. I'm like, okay, cool. Listen to it a lot. I had in my mind what I wanted it to be.
Nope.
And when I finally went over to sit down and start doing it, I started playing something that it felt right.
But it was not anything it showed.
It had some premise of what I had in mind, but it was just like
very little.
It was I just went with the flow. It was one of those red light.
Good though, man.
So we got the signal here on the podcast. So basically, writer's block. Do whatever works for you because everybody's different. But I'm hearing for us, it's timeline, pressure for the procrastination.
Yes.
Just start regurgitating until something starts coming out.
It's like being stuck in constant
if you're
vomit.
getting sidetracked, go with it, but kind of like keep yourself on task too.
Yeah, try.
Because, and for me,
or have somebody call to check in to put you back on track.
This is why I like writing with the group, because then I can get the instant, is this good?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I did this morning. I was like, all right, I need you to tell me that I'm not an idiot.
I will say for writing, for the most part, for me, I'm the reverse on that one. I need to kind of sit and ruminate on the idea that I have, at least for a day. I don't need to like have months on it and be like, I have a fully done thing. I need at least a day to be like, okay, is this even something I can keep more? Okay, I figured this out a long time ago. Before we had the technology readily available to just record a riff and pass it off via, an email or something, and we were just going to have to keep replaying it over and over and over and over again. It all started more from that point of all right, let me make sure I can keep playing this over and over again. So not but when Chad's like, hey, do that again for me. Yeah. Or when Jeff's like, hey, I need you to keep just playing that over and over so I can figure it out.
Give me that 8-bar for like the next 20 minutes, man.
I need this riff for an hour.
Yeah. Dude, we're laughing like it never happened.
No, man.
Dude, that's how the guitar part for Visions 3 came along. He's like, play the bass part over and over and over.
Yeah. How'd you feel, bud? But
he's like, our forearms have become the best forearms that I've ever been.
Actually, what ended up getting the final chorus riff written, though, was I actually had a rough recording of his parts, but I didn't know what his notes were, so I learned his part.
Yeah, he had to sit down and learn the bass part.
Yeah, so that way I could actually write against what he was actually doing.
He was actually playing.
But
I love it.
But the reality is that I need that day so that way I can actually be sure that I have what I'm trying to figure out and what I'm trying to do done good enough to where when I get keep playing that for me, I know I'm not questioning if it was the idea I wanted to present.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
Some of that goes back to something I practiced with a friend in high school. It was, don't play outside of your ability either. So like you were saying, you're learning something new. Cool, you learned it, but can you get there and stay there?
Yes.
So that way, if you have a live application or you need to repeat it for something that you don't look foolish trying to do something you really can't do.
Yeah.
I will never try blast beats.
With Discover, I mean, the reality is when we were first starting to write it, I was not playing the verses horribly clean, and I even said it. I'm like, it ain't clean yet. I will get it there, but I know I can get it there.
Oh, dear God. For me, it's like slap bass. I am not a slap bassist, and I actually wrote for 10-13-07 a slap bass part, but it was dirty slap, and it was intended to be just dirty, nasty slap.
You know where you played not dirty slap and you did intentional dirty slap?
What?
On Unified Divide.
Unified Divide.
Did I play slap there?
Yes, you did.
If y'all talk no what.
So
this is why I'm the archivist.
We're looking for ways to break creative blocks. So if you have any suggestions,
yes, you should leave them in the
can
comment.
If you're blocking creatively, what do you do to get out of it?
Yeah, not even just musically. If you're a painter or if you're a photographer or something like that, any creative has creative blocks.
Writer.
What is your breakthrough?
And thank you guys all for joining us this evening. It's been a wonderful evening.
This was fun.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
We hope to hear from you all very soon. Have a wonderful night.
Goodbye. Chris.
I already did it. I'm so sorry.
You're too quiet.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
That's better. Okay, bye.
So sorry.
Thank you for listening to Actually Controller. If you liked what you heard, please consider following us on all our socials. You can easily find us on all the different platforms by going to linktree/controller33 or scan the QR code if you are watching the video version of this episode. Thank you.